Hi guys, welcome to week 3. We are done with our short story unit and now we are on to poetry. So, this week, this unit is only a week long and it is quite a doozy. There's a lot of work, so I encourage you to read ahead and to skim over the discussions and the work that's due. Watching this video will help you kind of situate yourself into what's happening this week, and we can go from there. So try not to get overwhelmed by the amount of work. The workload this week's going to be different than the last couple weeks because we had 2 weeks for short story, and again we only have 1 week for poetry. Okay, so on to week 3. So this is our home page. This happens to be CRN 55550, but again, the courses look very similar. So week 3, here's our home page. It might change a little bit this week, but it has everything you need on it to link to all the work that's due this week. So as a friendly reminder, your essay number 1 short story is due tonight. You will click on the folder link and you will download it there. I'm just going to do that for anyone who isn't sure how to do it. You're going to go ahead and click on the link, and then mine looks a little bit different, but when you click on the link up in the right hand side you will see submit. I think it's a blue box for submitting your essay, and you'll click on that. You will attach it just like you would in an email. So let me go back to the home page. So again, friendly reminder, excuse me, post that short story essay number 1, worth a lot of points. And just as a reminder, I am not accepting late work. This course goes entirely too fast for me to take late work. So I hope and I stress highly that you get your work in on time, do it ahead of time. That way you're not waiting until the last minute, because that is always a recipe for trouble, especially with work schedules and time management. Make sure that you're getting your work done in a timely manner, which means in a timely manner that works for your particular schedule. So set the hours for doing your work and hop onto the computer during your assigned hours, your self-assigned hours. Okay, so Unit 2, here we go. Unit 2 is our poetry unit. I made another video last week that kind of overviews it a little bit, but this is our actual unit. It is comprised of 3 discussions, a journal log, a quiz on poetry, which is now up and running, and then essay number 2, poetry interpretation and analysis. And so, let's get started. So discussion number 7, which is really the first discussion for your poetry, is quite meaty. So here is your task. I'll read over it and I'll click on links if necessary. So you're going to read the What is Poetry excerpt from the Little Seagull Reader. What are poems? Let me fix that. We have a typo. So again, this is just your packet. It is also located on the home page for your convenience. Again, I just photocopy these for you because it's a lot cheaper than buying an entire book. And we're not going to use the whole book. Thank you for your patience while I edited that. Again, you're going to click on the packet. It's a PDF. If you're having a hard time with it, it could be your browser, it could be your computer settings with Adobe. Once you open it, you're going to have to rotate it. Bam! So again, this is 25 pages. Nothing needs to be memorized here. I would encourage you to print it out, highlight concepts. These are the things that are going to be on the quiz. The quiz is comprised of 33 questions, again, going over these concepts, and it goes over most of these concepts. The first part of the packet is going over what is poetry, concepts and terms. The end of the packet is about how to write a response, a critical interpretation of a poem, and so it's about the writing process. But again, no need to memorize any of this information, although you will use it for your quiz and for your essay number 2 as you analyze poems. That is step number 1. Make sure you're taking good notes for the upcoming quiz, and really so that you can be familiar with concepts like image and symbol and metaphor in poetry. Poetry can be a bit trickier for some people because a lot of people don't trust their intuition when they read a poem. One of the best pieces of advice I can give you when you're reading poems is to critically skim and to reread several times so you can kind of fall into the rhythm of the sound of the poem itself. So the first poem, we have 3 poems. Your second task is read 3 poems below by 3 amazing poets. Some of them I was able to find audio for. The first poem is Pablo Neruda, If You Forget Me. So you can click on the actual text itself if you would like, so you can actually look at the reading. In poetryhunter.com they also have audios if you want to listen to it, and it will play here. The text of the poem is down here, so either way is fine. And then I think it might actually start on its own, but I'm going to click back here. There are 2 different versions of Neruda's. One of them is in English, one of them is in Spanish, so you can hear the variety of Neruda's diversity in his writing. His poems were written in Spanish and translated into English. So English and Spanish, but beautiful in both languages. So again, if you click on the link, the first link, it'll go to the actual text. If you click on the bottom 2, you'll go to YouTube where you can listen to the poems themselves. There's the first one, and then here is the second one, just as a quick little preview. So good. So that is Pablo Neruda, the second poet. So remember, when you're actually listening, allow yourself to listen to the poem a couple times so you can kind of sink it at a deeper level, and scribble down some notes, things that you notice, symbols, images, Mama? Word language, things like that. Oops, sorry about that. That was my little one wanting something from her mama. I'm not sure where I left off, other than discussing the significance of noting symbols, images, repetition of words, the sound of words together, rhymes. So those are things you're going to observe when you listen to a poem. It's a bit different than reading a short story, although it's similar in the sense that you're looking for something deeper. We have the literal level interpretation of the poem, and then we have kind of the underbelly, the underlying beauty that lives within the poem itself. So on to the second poem, which is Federico Garcia Lorca's animation on YouTube. I'm currently looking for the actual text version of it, or the print version of it, but it is subtitled so you can see it. I'm going to go ahead and click on it so you can get a little glimpse of it. So the animation for this one's beautiful. Right? So again, I suggest you listen to it a few times. So that's the second poem, and I'm still looking for the text. If anyone finds it, let me know. I will gladly offer you extra points for finding it. Okay, and the third poem is Gloria Anzaldua's To Live in the Borderlands, and I'll click on the first link here. So there's lots of versions of this actual piece in terms of where you can find it. I just was looking for the one that was visually stimulating and then also easier to read. So we have it here. If you want to enlarge it, you can do Control+, and it just gets a little bit bigger. I couldn't find an audio version of this specific one. Again, if anyone finds that one, you can let me know. I'll offer you extra points for that. Going back to the discussion, the second link is the To Live in the Borderlands as well. Just a different kind of look to it. So those are 3 poems. We have Pablo Neruda, we have Federico Lorca Garcia, and then we have Gloria Anzaldúa. After you are done listening to the poems, looking at the poems several times each and taking really good notes about symbolism, images, anything that stands out to you, the sound of the words, rhythm, rhyme, what you're going to do is you're going to post to the discussion board. Here is your task. You will choose one of the poems above by one of the 3 poets, and then you'll give us a mini analysis of it in 2 paragraphs. So that is a typo. So let me fix that real quick. Again, writing is a process, and this editing is a big, important part of the process. There are things we just don't notice the first couple times around. So that is bugging me. There's needs a space here and here. I think I mentioned to you guys my space bar is broken. It kind of sucks. And then also where you will write 2 paragraphs. First, you'll write a paragraph where you analyze the poem's tone, speaker, symbols. I'll put images here. Word choice. So I want to give you a variety, etc. That way you feel like you have a lot to draw on. Again, you don't have to focus on all these things. There may be something that really just stands out to you for whatever reason, and I would focus on that thing. In other words, you'll connect it to the concepts from Introduction to Poetry packet, which we looked at. That's for the first paragraph. For the second paragraph, you're going to answer these questions in a paragraph. How does the poem you picked relate to today's world? So, for example, if you pick If You Forget Me by Pablo Neruda, maybe you want to talk about love and the complexities of love and being hurt by someone and suffering and grief, and connect it to today's world. Maybe you can connect it to your own experience of love or whatever your interpretation is of that poem. So again, in the second paragraph, you're connecting it to today's world. Essentially, how does the poem reflect what's going on in the world today? And then lastly, you're going to read classmates' insightful posts and respond to at least one in a thoughtful paragraph. Remember, when I say a thoughtful paragraph, I mean 5 to 7 sentences. As a reminder, some of you need to really work on pushing yourself a little bit further. Because when you push yourself further, you kind of explore and discover things you hadn't really thought about before because you're developed and you're going a little bit deeper. So again, that's for the discussion. I'm going to go ahead and save it now that it's edited. That is discussion number 7, the first discussion for the poetry unit. Very meaty, totally worthwhile. You're going to have lots of fun with it. Going back to the home page, I'm just going to click on poetry unit again so I can kind of skim over discussion number 2 for poetry, which is discussion number 8 technically. So in discussion number 8, second discussion for our poetry unit, you're going to read and watch 4 poems a few times. The poems are Maya Angelou's Still I Rise, Etheridge Nights, Feeling Fucked Up, Tupac Shakur's A Rose That Grew from Concrete, and Kindness by Naomi Shihab Nye. So there are your 4 poems. You're going to read and listen to them a few times, take good notes on symbolism, imagery, tone, language, repetition, all that fun poetry stuff. And then you are going to make sure that you do your journal log, which is due at the end of this week, and then you'll post to the discussion board when you're done with that. So, while we're here, let me fix the posting, because for some reason the instructions are not very clear. So when you post to the discussion board, you are going to discuss the poems. So you're doing something similar to what you did in the last discussion, which is posting the discussion board, discussing the poems, and connect them to the concepts from class. You can choose to discuss 1, 2, 3, or all 4 poems. What do you notice about the poems? Notice. And then I'll ask one final question. Which of the poems really speaks to you? And why? So share in at least 2 paragraphs long of the post. And so push your thinking a little bit. Make sure that you're reading and responding to a classmate as well. So when I ask you to respond, what you're doing is you're engaging, engage, E-N, engage in a